A little disclaimer before I do start my podcast presentation. I will be doing this presentation alone because y'all, your girl was working so much that I miss getting into my group for the podcast presentations, and like by the time I tried, it was too late. And yeah, it's just trying to balance school and work be really hard for a young lady out here. But I was fortunately granted the opportunity to submit one by myself. So that is what we are about to see. So, hi, ladies and gentlemen. I am Harrell-Davis, and today I will be going around and asking young black women questions involving the topic of intimate partner domestic violence, known as IPDV. I just want to get their thoughts on it, being that women of color and black women mainly are 3 times as likely to die of DV, and that black women are more prone to dying by guns by their partner. And then also research has shown us that women in general are 5 times more likely to die if there's a gun in the home. So yeah, I just want to get their thoughts on this, and being that like we know who's in office now, how they might feel about what's gonna happen to gun access and gun control. Hi, Tiara. You will be my first interviewee today. Thank you for being here. Okay, and why do you think voting is important? I think voting is very important, especially when it comes to having a voice and trying to work towards advancements in civil rights, um, or just anything you want to see change in your community or like around the world globally. I definitely think that voting is a lot more important than a lot of people think. Because a lot of people that I talk to, they think like voting, like their vote's not gonna matter anyway, so why do it? Um, but I strongly believe that like if people were to vote more, we would actually start seeing more changes. This year, that's good points. We lost a lot of voters this year, and I think maybe it's because they thought like they didn't need to, or that they didn't think it would change anything. But it probably would have made a big difference in the election if they actually voted. So I would just say get out there and vote, but I definitely think voting is very important for like empowerment, representation, you know, change, and the protection of rights. If we stop voting, then we just allow anyone or whoever to get into office or in very like in higher places of power, then they can just basically do anything they want. Um, and yeah, that's when everything starts to go downhill. And then people will probably start to vote, but it'll kind of be too late. Like you'll be working back up from bottom at that point. And dealing with the power control will, how do you think this topic plays into looking at the power control wheel? Whatever, and yeah, so it's usually like they use intimidation, coercion, and threats, and male privilege. I'm sure that like it can boil down to a lot, like because this is like death by guns. It's not just like domestic violence. It's like the research is about them actually like killing or shooting, committing homicide, and so I mean, like, it's more about power control once they actually do the act. Um, but there's a lot of things that happen that lead up to it, like even like the threats or whatever, or like they can use a bunch of things to keep you there, like for the domestic violence, like economics, um, using the children. They can use almost everything on the wheel. Um, Isolation. They can use everything on the wheel, but honestly, by the time that they like commit the act and shoot their partner, um, nothing really left on the wheel. That at that point, it's just about having that power, having that control of like, if you didn't do this, well, now you're gone. So like at that point, but it might can get passed on to the kids if like he makes the kids, like if he doesn't get caught, or she maybe doesn't get caught, the kids now have to live with that secret and live with what he's done, and it could go on to them like, oh, now if you don't listen, you'll end up just like your mother or someone else. But the domestic violence is pretty much all those things that I mentioned before, that leads up to the killing by guns, because in a domestic violence relationship, it doesn't get any better. Like, I've heard and seen that, like, I've only seen it progress. I've never seen it decrease. So
Awesome. Okay, and what are some traumas? What are types of traumas that women or men can experience after DV?
some types of trauma that they might deal with during the uh, domestic abuse, um, the domestic violence, is that they can have physical trauma or psychological. They can also have financial trauma, like basically if they weren't if they weren't in a good spot financially, during the time, that could lead to financial trauma. Um, we also have social trauma, like people tend to isolate themselves when they're in those kind of relationships. Now, if we're talking about like maybe survivors that survive like a gun, like attempt on their life with a gun, then there's a bunch of trauma after that. Like they still might isolate themselves afterwards because of the trauma. So you also have social trauma there, and then also psychological trauma still. There's also fear and hyperarousal. Like also just constantly be in a state of alertness and just always fearing for your safety. You can have that kind of trauma dealing with this. Um, yeah, it's a lot of like emotional and psychological traumas that come from intimate partner domestic violence. That's why it's like really important to provide appropriate support and resources for the survivors.
Okay, thank you. And last question, Tiara. Um, in terms of Project 2025, do you think Project 2025 will affect um, IPDV victims, or just like even IPD victims, death by guns? Like,
In terms of Project 2025, I definitely see an increase in IPDV. Um, they already want to basically have looser laws, uh, if any, for guns. And I don't think gun control is going to get better uh, in terms of Project 2025. Um, and yeah, I'm sure that the rates will probably go up, being that there's more access to guns, or that there will be more access to guns, because
that's good.
if there are more deaths, uh, more likely to happen in a household when you have a gun in there. So just off that rate alone, when you throw domestic violence into it, I'm sure that this will not be a helpful effect on Project 2021. I definitely believe it'll be harmful. And I don't think there will be any resources in place once it goes up, like shelters or anything. I don't think there will be anything put in place for that.
Absolutely.
Or anything to help IPVD victims.
Hey, I'm here with Kelly Sabanum. And Kelly, did you vote?
Of course.
Okay. And would you call yourself a Democrat, Republic, or liberal?
I'm a liberal.
Okay. You're liberal.
Yeah.
Can I ask you liberal?
I voted for a Democrat.
I'm a Democrat.
Oh, I voted for Kamala.
Cool. So, how important is the candidate's stance on domestic violence prevention and gun safety influencing your vote?
How would that influence my vote?
Yes, like basically if they had a strong stance on it, or
I mean, obviously, I would be
like how would it
more
influence it?
persuaded to vote for that person because.
But like, how important is it? Basically, like
I mean, very important. I'm a woman, first of all. I want to have kids one day, so I wouldn't want. Like, you remember that little area we have where like the schools are dead shot up? So like, think about sending your kids to school where I have no worry about that.
Right, exactly. That's definitely for gun control, gun safety.
Okay.
In your opinion, what changes should be made to laws regarding firearms and domestic violence in order to protect victims?
I think what could happen is maybe the charges, like the consequences for things like that, could be more. Like more could be done about it. It gives it like a slap on the wrist type thing. Like people being there for like a couple weeks sometimes for domestic violence. So then it's like you would hope people would take it more seriously, like if they have more consequences. But I don't think that would, like, the person that's most likely deranged or have an issue. So
Yeah.
I don't think they would care. Unless it's like, because you know, like some people care about image. Like they're really, like a lot of people in power are very violent too. So like for them per se, it's like, oh, if I'm going to jail for 2 years for domestic violence, like maybe they won't do it.
Yeah.
It'll probably be more emotionally intensive though.
Yeah. Okay. That I definitely agree. I think they could definitely make laws that just if you have a history at least in abuse or just like even like you know how some people can get like guns illegally or whatever, even if they have like a record of getting caught with an illegal gun too, like I feel like that should be a bunch of stuff just can go in place and like start restricting people from getting guns.
I think people can change though. Like
I mean, yeah, but you definitely still need that extra background check too. But yeah, people can be rehabilitated.
So I can't like.
I mean, people can change, but I feel like there should be like statutes of limitations. And I feel like say if you like got charged with hitting a girl with a gun over the head or shooting somebody, like you definitely should have a longer
I am about to say like it's not like how it affects everybody. If you said somebody like if they got a gun, they got history of being illegal guns. Like, would that be the same for them as somebody that's like?
I like what you're saying. No, I'm saying like it's not like depending on what it's for.
There's different tiers.
Yeah, of course. That's how all laws work. Like it's different tiers depending on what they actually did, but like it's still illegal. And I mean, I feel like guns should be purchased or what is it registered? Guns should be bought legally, regardless. That way, it's easier to track, you know, a homicide or violence.
That's the exact reason why they don't.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. You get charged with that, and now you can't get for a few years.
I don't think you should have guns. I don't know what we got them for.
Protection.
But you need, if they don't got a gun, you don't do that.
It's more so.
You can have a bat and hit them. You don't need a gun.
Yeah, it's just because it's the right to protect yourself, you know. And sometimes even like think about a woman, she got a bad and that dude big. Please get some water. So Kelly, how has gun violence and intimate partner relationships personally affected you?
So that's already a really big thing, I think, in the Black community. But my sister, she love it for some reason. But we're not gonna get too deep into that. Yeah, I just grew up kind of like watching her in relationships that were domestic and involved with gun violence as well. So it just made me be like, that could never be me. So
does it make you like sad as well?
I mean, yeah,
it's like that's like a way that it affected you.
Well, yeah, of course.
So like, did it affect anyone else? Like, did it affect everyone around you, or just like you feel like you were the only one who actually looked at it and was like?
No, my nephew, because we were with my sister a lot.
Hey, sorry, my interviewee needs some water.
But do you think that it affected like a lot of? Well, you basically said it like it affected a lot of your not relationships per se, but just how you approach them or what you're looking for.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit more straight. I don't play that. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm here with Tanasia Thomas. Tanasia, did you vote?
Yes, I
You
did.
voted? Okay, can I ask you if you're a Democrat or Republican?
I am a Democrat.
Democrat, okay. And how do you feel about gun control dealing with intimate partner domestic violence?
So I do feel strongly about that because I do know a person who was in a domestic violence relationship and they died from gun violence. But more laws do need to be put on gun control and access to guns. Oh, for sure.
Okay, I'm with you. And do you think voting helps or harms, like with pertaining to this topic?
It definitely can put restrictions on access to guns, but voting can go either way. But when you vote, at least you have a voice.
Very
Say something.
Yes, vote, guys. What role do you think public awareness campaigns, such as those focused on domestic violence and firearms, should play in elections and voter engagement?
The campaigns, they definitely keep people woke. They get people out there, voting, and they get the candidates to actually step up. And yeah, we just vote for what actually matters.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Hi guys, I'm here with Tiara Hamilton. And Tiara, did you vote this year?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Do you mind me asking if you're a Democrat or Republican? Or
I'm a Democrat.
Okay. So let's get started. How do you feel about how do you feel as a Black woman about intimate partner domestic violence, being that Black women are more prone to it?
I would say I definitely don't agree with domestic violence in relationships. But I would say as a Black woman, we don't have that many resources to help us get out of situations like that. So I feel like we need more resources in the community to help us.
That is very true. I feel like there's not a lot of programs or you said shelters?
Yeah, like they have like nowhere to go, so they have to stay.
And definitely the partners, they tend to use like economics and economics?
Yeah, and like financial like situations, like holding money.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like they actually don't have anywhere to go, so like that's a fear that makes them stay in it.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, we talk about this a lot. So we're like they use like the kids, or say the woman doesn't have a job, or they just use power and control to like keep them there. They use power and control to keep them there. And honestly, we had a bunch of places put in place for specifically women like that's in those type of relationships. Then I definitely think we would see a decrease in Black women being in those kind of relationships, as long as they do be. How aware are you of the roles firearm plays in intimate partner domestic violence deaths?
I would say I'm pretty aware. I watch like a lot of true crime that involves gun violence and domestic violence relationships. So I would say I'm pretty aware.
Okay. Do you think voting can effectively lead to stronger laws protecting survivors of domestic violence? Why or why not?
I would say I'm 50-50 on that. I feel like we can have laws put in place to somewhat decrease the amount of gun violence. But I feel like it won't completely stop it. It'll just put a decrease to it because I feel like people will just find other ways to, you know, try to use guns in violent ways. So.
Yeah, that's very true because in other states, when they have like looser laws on guns, we see like more of like a death rate by guns. And so, but like even our like state or whatever, or a state that has more, you know, gun laws, we never see it completely gone, you know, but it does decrease. So I guess they would be, it's important, like it's effective, but you know, it's always going to be like a setback or something. It's just like kind of like with abortions, like when, like either way, if they like try to ban abortions or whatever, there's going to be other ways.
Yeah, to like get around that. Like, they're going to try to find some other way to do it. So I feel like there can be laws put in place to try to stop something, but I feel like it'll only decrease it. Nothing can be, I guess, completely stopped.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean also like don't try either.
Yeah,
because you know
definitely. So it's like it's definitely important to vote for it, like against it, so it can at least decrease it.
Yeah.
Instead of just keeping it the same.
True. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So today I'm here with my Megan. So, did you vote this year?
I did.
Okay. Do you mind me asking if you're a Democrat or Republican or
Democrat?
So, dealing with, you know, gun violence, gun control, would you say you're pro-gun control or?
Yes.
Yeah?
I feel like they should have that under control. Not everyone should have access to it.
Or like basically like, there should be at least like some restrictions and background checks.
For sure.
So how aware are you of the role firearms play in intimate partner domestic violence deaths?
That is a leading cause or reason for the deaths in domestic violence relationships, because it's just easy to access, maybe.
Are you aware that most women die a gun is involved in like homicides with women more than half the time?
I wasn't aware.
Do you believe that elected officials are doing enough to pass legislation that would reduce intimate partner homicides, particularly those of our firearms?
No, honestly, just looking at the results of the current election, I don't think there's enough being put into place for restrictions, if that makes sense.
And then after the election, do you think that we'll have looser gun laws or stricter ones?
Honestly, I think it would be even more easier to access a gun.
I believe that too.
Yeah.
I feel like because most of them are already trying to like make it easier to get guns or whatever. Because you know we have a right to bear arm, but yeah, they're just somebody was not that they even had to register to get one, and then someone made like a good point. I was like, well, you have to register to vote, and you have a right to vote because he was like, you have a right to firearms, so we shouldn't have to register. He was like, okay, you have a right to vote, you still register to vote. Like it was like, yeah, I don't know, I do
because you can't just be having anybody out here.
Exactly. Yeah, because and then the main argument was that he was like he don't feel like it's the guns, it's the people, and we're like it's like okay, yeah, it's the people, but maybe if we did a better background check, we could have realized he had dementia.
Something going on.
Yeah, like you get what I'm saying. I don't know. I just feel like it definitely should be stricter.
I agree.
Okay, and last question. In your opinion, what changes should be made to laws regarding firearms and domestic violence in order to protect victims?
Definitely a background check within a certain amount of years, maybe like within 10 years, if anything comes up on a record regarding any type of abuse or towards anyone, that should be looked into and held accountable for that. Yeah, there should definitely be more rules enforced.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm with Jesse Mobley and Kenya Realm. Can you guys tell me how you feel about intimate partner domestic violence and with them with guns and how it personally affects you?
Me personally, I experienced a situation where I had a cousin that honestly he tried to take his wife's life and he shot her and then he took his own life in front of his children. And she actually survived the situation and went on to carry on a relationship with the guy that she was dealing with. But, I can't take that. It was just, it was something that stunned me. And I think that stunned the community. Definitely affected the kids terribly. So, something that, me and my family still, we deal with it. Just had to deal with it.
Well, with me, it affects us, being that we lost our son to domestic violence and guns. It's something that's really devastating, and that I really think that it's a conversation that needs to be had between kids, with kids, and even with maybe adults as well. Being that I would say especially with kids, so that they can feel have a way to express themselves. With our son, he was so distraught about the breakup that he got himself in a situation and he ended up losing his life behind domestic violence between children. You know what I mean? And they don't have a way to really express themselves. And when they don't know how to express themselves, it can lead into dangerous situations. And unfortunately, we lost our son behind that. So, with gun violence, it's terrible for adults and children when you don't know how to handle your emotions and you just act out. And it needs to be some type of gun control. I really do believe that.
Well, further speaking, when it comes to looking at the situation with my son, it's not just a situation between the two people that's involved in each other, because a third party actually they actually committed the crime. But when there's domestic violence, everybody is involved in that thing, and that's really what happens. You know what I'm saying? So
Right. And it doesn't just affect the two people involved. It affects both sides of the family. At the end of the day, because we still have to go on. And we have to live with this every day. Even the young lady that he was involved with, her and her family still have to live with this, for their entire lives as well. We don't know how it affected them, But this is something that we got to live with every day. And once it's done, it's done. There's no going back. You can't fix it. And so, people really need to educate one another. Or educate people, you know what I mean?
Thank you guys. Say like some strength perspectives would be like community support, like basically advocating for advocacy groups and shelters, and like just having a community that supports you. Empowerment. It encourages survivors to reclaim their power and make informed choices. It also gives a chance for self-advocacy, which, can also make them feel like they, have like power back. We have hope and future orientation, which is basically like instilling like hope into them. Like, there's a life after this. This doesn't have to just consume your whole life. By focusing on strengths, this perspective aims to empower individuals affected by IPVD, and it aims to rebuild their lives and pathways to safety and well-being. Thank you.